Okay, so we are going to go through question 10 of this paper. So this is the OCR 21st century paper. It's a higher tier and breadth in chemistry. Okay, so this is November 2020, and we're going through question 10. So lithium ion batteries are used in phones, tablets and electric cars. Lithium reacts with chlorine to form lithium chloride. Here's the balanced chemical equation. So what mass of chlorine reacts with 1 gram of lithium? And they've given us the equation that we could use. So use the equation, number of moles is mass divided by relative formula mass. And our final answer has to be to 1 decimal place. So first thing you kind of need to notice here is that they're asking us to calculate the mass of chlorine, and to calculate the mass you do the relative formula mass times moles, but we don't know the moles of chlorine. Okay, but what we can do is work out the number of moles of lithium and then use the balanced symbol equation to calculate the number of moles of chlorine, and then once we know the moles of chlorine we can calculate the mass of chlorine as well. So step 1, we need to calculate the moles of lithium. Okay, so moles of lithium. And to calculate moles, remember it's mass divided by relative formula mass. So the mass is 1 gram divided by 6.9. Okay, 6.9 is the relative formula mass shown in the periodic table, and 1 is because they've told us it's 1 gram. So 1, if you type that into the calculator, you should get 0.144927 and so on. Okay, that is the moles of lithium. If we look at this balanced symbol equation, we have a ratio of 2 to 1. Okay, for every 2 lithium atoms there's 1 chlorine molecule. Okay, so this is the ratio. So whatever the moles of lithium is, the moles of chlorine is always half of it. So we know this is the number of moles of lithium. To find the number of moles of chlorine, we just half it. Okay, divided by 2, because that's the ratio, 2 to 1. So if we divide our answer without taking it away, just answer divided by 2, that should give you 0.07263 and so on. Okay, so this is the moles of chlorine. This is the moles of chlorine. Okay, so we've done the second part. We've calculated the moles of lithium. Now using the molar ratio from the balanced equation, we've calculated the moles of chlorine, and then we could do the final step, mass of chlorine. We can just rearrange the equation. So they've told us moles is mass divided by relative formula mass. To calculate mass, we do relative formula mass times moles. Okay, so relative formula mass of chlorine is 71. Okay, 1 chlorine atom is 35.5, but it's a chlorine molecule. So we times 35.5 by 2. So that's the relative formula mass, and we times that by the number of moles, which is this. So 0.072463 and so on. Okay, the more decimal places that you can get into your calculator, the better it will be, the more accurate your answer will be. But to show you working out, just do these dots in the exam paper to show that the number kind of continues. And that should give you 5.1. Okay? So that would give you 3 marks. These are the 3 things you kind of need to calculate. The second part of the question is, lithium reacts with water to form lithium hydroxide and a gas. Write a balanced symbol equation for this reaction. Okay, so we know lithium is a metal and it reacts with water. So when a metal reacts with water, metal plus water, it gives a metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. Okay, plus hydrogen gas. So they've told us one of the products already, lithium hydroxide. So we need to write down a balanced symbol equation. Lithium plus water is H2O, and that should give us lithium hydroxide plus H2, okay, because there's always hydrogen gas. It says a gas is produced, that's hydrogen gas, because the general equation is metal plus water gives us metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. So this would give you 1 mark. Okay, the reason it's 1 instead of, the reason why it gives you 1 mark instead of 2 is because you need to balance this equation. Okay, so we have 1 lithium on here, 1 there, we have 2 hydrogen here, but 3 there. So what you can do is put a 2, you can put a 2 in front of this hydrogen. Okay, so now we have in total 4 hydrogens here, but 3 here. So if I put 2 here as well, I have 2 hydrogens plus 2, that gives you 4, and there's 4 there. But now the lithium has also changed. So we have 2 lithium, so we put 2 in front of here. And obviously the oxygen is balanced because there's 2 now here and on this side as well. So this should give you the full 2 marks. Part C. Lithium is made by the electrolysis of molten lithium chloride. Name the product formed at each electrode, cathode and anode. What you need to remember is the cathode is the negative electrode and anode is the positive electrode. And you also need to know that when molten lithium chloride, when there's molten lithium chloride, you have lithium ions and chloride ions. So these are negative and lithium is positive. The metal is always the positive ion, the non-metal is always the negative ion. So lithium is attracted to the cathode, and then once it gets there, it gets discharged, okay? It gains electrons, so it becomes lithium metal, okay? And it's attracted to the cathode because lithium is positive. Chlorine is negative, it's attracted to the anode, and it loses electrons at the anode, and it becomes chlorine gas, okay? The 2 marks there. Part D. Nina does some experiments with chlorine. Nina wants to use a displacement reaction to show chlorine is more reactive than bromine. Describe what Nina needs to do and what she will see. She needs to add chlorine to a solution. So add chlorine to a solution of sodium bromide. Okay, this is a bromide salt. It doesn't have to be sodium, it could be lithium bromide, potassium bromide, any bromide, okay? Any salt of bromide. But bromine needs to be present. But I've just chosen sodium. So add chlorine to a solution of sodium bromide, and then what you'll see is a brown color, okay? You'll see a brown color appear, and that is because chlorine is more reactive than bromine, so it will kick it out, it will displace it, and chlorine will take the place of bromide to produce sodium chloride, and then bromine would be on its own, okay? And that is brown. Bromine solution is brown, so that's why you see the brown color. And then the last part of this question, Nina has to be careful when using chlorine in her experiments. Okay, state one precaution she must take and why the precaution is needed. Okay, so for this one you could say avoid inhaling the gas. There's various different options for that one. You could also say make sure there's ventilation. That would also give you a mark. You don't need to mention all of them, just one. Make sure there's plenty of ventilation. Maybe use a fume cupboard. And the reason is because chlorine gas or chlorine is toxic, okay? You can say it's toxic, poisonous, irritant. All of those will be correct, okay? You need to mention one, not all of them. And that is it for this question.